Hey, Star Wars action figure collectors, this is Darth Phoenix 619 coming at you with another video, and this time I have a topic video. It's been a while since I've done one of these, and you'll have to excuse me, I'm still kind of getting over my cold, and I have allergies and whatnot. 'Tis the season, of course. So, in a recent vid, I mentioned my lack of, I wouldn't say lack of, I would just say my disappointment with Star Wars 3 3/4 inch action figures, and I wanted to do a topic video because I've actually been able to just have a conversation, talk to people, briefly comment to others on social media about just Star Wars action figures in that scale, just the recent disappointment. And I just wanted to express my opinion, give my thoughts, give a little bit of experience with that I have with talk about my experience with the 3 3/4 inch line and where it's going. And of course, these are my opinions. You know, there are people out there who are very satisfied or very content or really excited about the 3 3/4 inch Star Wars action figures that we were getting, mostly in regards to the 5 points of articulation ones. And, you know, that's great. Everyone's entitled to their opinion, and this is mine. So, you know, it's okay to disagree. It's okay to think otherwise. And there are some of you out there I know who feel the same way I do. Because like I mentioned, we've had this conversation. So I just kind of wanted to bring it to light and, you know, give people's thoughts and opinions, you know, either in the comments or response vid. Of course, you're more than welcome to do that. So let's just go ahead and begin. I don't want to make this video too long. So here you see a wide assortment of various 3 3/4 inch action figures from Star Wars and Marvel that I'll be using just to kind of touch on some points. So, you know, let's first start off with my experience. I started collecting Star Wars action figures heavily in about 2011 or so, if I remember correctly. 2011, yes. And it's a bit after my daughter was born. And my experience has been, for the most part, with super articulated action figures. Even back in 2005, I had bought a few just for display purposes in my room. I think about like 6, and most of them from Revenge of the Sith line. And those were some great action figures. Of course, I still have them to this day. Wonderful sculpts. And for the most part, you know, you're looking at about 10 or so points of articulation. You had the elbows, even though they were swivel. You had the knees. Some of them had ankles. And around this time, we were getting the super articulated clones with the 14 points of articulation. But the very first figure I bought was the VOTC Boba Fett. Now, this is my exposure to Star Wars action figures in general. Wonderful sculpt, great paint apps, some cool accessories, soft goods, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, 14 points of articulation: ankles, knees, hips, torso, shoulders, wrists. No, maybe not so much wrists, forearms or something like that. You know, you got the ball joint head. I mean, this is my experience, and I know some of you out there who grew up with Star Wars. You know, you watched the original trilogy when it was first released. Your first exposure, of course, was those 5 points of articulation vintage figures. And I know some of you have said that, oh, you know, it's just kind of a nostalgia kick when you collect the recent line. And I know for others who did collect the 5 points of articulation back then are like, no, I'm not collecting modern figures that have 5 points of articulation. I did when I was young, not going to do it now. You know, times have changed. Action figures have evolved. We shouldn't backtrack, and you know, that's some people's opinions out there. So for me, this has been my standard. This is what I've had, have been collecting for the last 6 years or so. So I mean, I fell in love with it. I mean, I did. I mean, I really wanted to collect Star Wars action figures from 2005 and moving forward, and that's what mostly my collection is. I have very tiny amount of figures that were released prior to 2005. You know, 2010, it was the vintage collection. That was what was popular. That's when I started collecting. The vintage collection was out. So that's the standard that I have. And of course, we have the Clone Wars animated series. And I love Clone Wars. Not a big fan of Rebels. So for me, when I was collecting Clone Wars, I really stuck with some of the action figures that were released prior to the first year, because a lot of the figures in the first year of Clone Wars animated series didn't have very many points of articulation. So clones are one of my favorite, and this is just your standard 327th Star Corps Phase 1 Clone Trooper. And you've got your full 14 points of articulation, or more so depending on how you count them. Ball jointed head, ball hinged shoulders, ball hinged elbows, ball hinged wrists, ball jointed torso. You got the swivel hips, ball hinged knees, and ball hinged ankles. I mean, wow. And of course, these were retailing for about $10, when I started collecting. So that's the standard. That's what I've been collecting. So it was a big shock to me when we were reduced to 5 points of articulation figures last year, or 2014, sometime around there. And not being a fan of the show Rebels, I was less excited for the action figures because there were 5 points of articulation. Limited accessories. When the line first released, the paint apps were very shoddy. They can be to this day, but that's across every line, not just the 3 3/4 inch line. And it really didn't get me excited for the show. I mean, I'm excited about collecting the Black Series 6-inch Rebels figures, the realistic ones, because, I have really enjoyed some of the characters, especially after reading the Rebels, Kanan comic book. I really want that Kanan comic realistic 6-inch figure, because, that the comic book's giving me love for the character, not so much the series. So, we got figures like this. Now, I only have 3 5-point of articulation figures. And, this is not a bad figure. It's not horrible. It's not great. It's eh. Of course, there's some bad paint applications. You really got to look through them. Only 5 points of articulation. And the only reason I really got this one was because I like Sith characters. Dark Jedi, and, dark users of the Force. So, it's okay. And it was $6. So I was like, why not? And I got a couple others. The Jedi Temple Guard from the Clone Wars series, and Ahsoka recently. And that's it. Because I don't want to spend, in my opinion, waste money on the lack of articulation. It's just so disappointing. I'm not even a big, action figure poser. It's just, to me, that's the quality. That's the standard that I have. My frustration with the Star Wars exclusive Walmart line is availability. I mean, toy hunting died for a time for me. Recently, it's been reinvigorated because I've been able to find quite a few things out there now in regards to Star Wars and Marvel. But when it comes to the super articulated Walmart exclusive line, it's been horrible. I have yet to see Kylo Ren, Rey, that second wave, appear in stores. Just no luck. I was able to see this wave with the Poe in a couple Walmarts for about 2-week time frame, and not anymore. They don't even put them out in most of the local Walmarts I have. So it's been horrible, and we have had no news. The rumor is that it's still going, but there's been nothing. Availability, I mean, we've gotten about 40 or so 6-inch Black Series figures since The Force Awakens. So since Force Friday, about including exclusives. And we've gotten, of the 5-point of articulation figures, we've gotten probably a good 30 to 40 figures from the movie and other sources. In that line, too, since Force Friday. We've gotten, 7 of these figures since Force Friday? And that's it. And some repacks, and it's just, it's a great figure. I really like this figure. It's, it's got the ball jointed hips, it's got ball jointed torso, the hinged wrists. It's wonderful. Yes, it's $13. Yes, it's $3 more. I have no problem with that because prices increase. That's gone up in price, which is even more of a deterrent to buying those figures. But, seriously, this, it shouldn't be a challenge to find these figures. And it has been. It's really just I don't know. It's just really just made me feel like I don't want to collect 3 3/4 inch figures. I don't want to hunt for those anymore. I don't want to hunt for them even online. I just want to get it for $13. And if I get it, great. And if I don't, I'm not worried. I'm not going to be disappointed. I have my 6-inch figures. And it's a shame, and it makes me feel, because this is what Marvel is producing. Marvel Universe now then became Infinite, now Legends. Yes, they've cut down on points of articulation, but these retail for the same price as the Star Wars Black Series, so some people are put off by that. But, for $3 or $4 more, you're getting a little bit more articulation than these 5 points of articulation figures. And this is Miss Marvel. I love that head sculpt. Good paint apps. They're solid. But she has the ball hinged shoulders. She has the hinged elbows. She doesn't have the waist. She doesn't have the wrist. That's probably the biggest things that are missing. But you got the hips. You've got the double hinged knees, and you've got ankle pivot. I mean, the ball hinged ankles and the ankle pivot. So you're just really just missing the elbows and the waist. 13, and you can get these at $10 at Toys R Us. After they've been on the shelves, you can get them for good deals online. And that hasn't been the case with Star Wars action figures. These retail for 20 and above, 25. No matter how long they've been out. They're available. They're in stores. I see them in stores. Some, of course, you see a lot of peg warmers are run out, but for the most part, you see them in stores. I don't see this guy in stores. And online, I was able to get a ton of the Infinite figures during the Christmas break because they were available. I was able to get them for like $8. So if you're patient, you can get them for a great deal. I've been online doing a lot of shopping because I've been needing that fix, as I mentioned before, and I've been getting a lot of older Marvel Universe figs for really good prices. I mean, you gotta definitely hunt, but it's been worth it for this line. I've been able to find figures, rare figures like this one that goes for $40 for 15, which is only actually it's about the same once you include tax. Some of the recent figures, just beautiful sculpts. Yes, there's less articulation, but you still got knees and elbows. I mean, it's just frustrating, and I've been picking it up, and I want to pick up old Star Wars figures, but as a Star Wars collector, that's my main focus. There's only a few left that I need. Not a few left, but there's some holes in my collection, but they're all expensive figures, within $50 or more. Some of them go up into the $100 range, and they're getting more expensive. These figures are rare, but they're at least staying around the decent price, and I've been able to find them for real cheap. I got Carnage for $15. This is a $40 figure. I mean, and I can't find any Star Wars figures for cheap. They just get more pricey, especially the expanded universe ones. So it's like, what do I collect? It's like Hasbro doesn't want my money when it regards to Star Wars, and just to kind of finish off, because I don't want to ramble on too much. But yes, the availability and the lack of quality has been frustrating, and hopefully we'll see the vintage collection return or something along those lines, or this line becomes more available, or it doesn't become Walmart exclusive. If we can see Marvel 6-inch figures, Marvel 3 3/4-inch figures being sold at the same time, and they still have those 5-point of articulation figures, especially when the movie's released. That's all still happening at the same time. This is Lady Thor. Just got her this week from a comic pack. Fantastic figure. They're still using some of the old sculpts. So she has the hinged neck. She has swivel biceps, ball hinged shoulders, hinged knees. She's got hinged elbows. She's got ball jointed torso. She's got double hinged knees, ball hinged. I'm doing a review. Hips, and she's got hinged ankles. I mean, she's got about 20 points of articulation. This is a $10 figure. It came in a 2-pack. There's even like inscription on Mjolnir. I mean, that's like, wow, great paint apps, and just you got the soft plastic here with the cape. This is a $10 figure. This is what we're getting in the Marvel Inch line, and we're just not getting it. And it's not exclusive, not Toys R Us exclusive. It's something we can find in stores. Anyways, that's just my thoughts, my opinions. I wanted to share them with you guys. I wanted to get your feedback. What do you think? What's going on? I'm really hoping for just a nice kick in the butt for the Star Wars action figure line. At least I have the 6-inch series to satisfy my Star Wars fix. But it's just kind of disappointing. All right, I'm going to leave it at that, you guys. So feel free to leave your feedback. And until next time, you guys, may the Force be with you.